Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of On the Town with Suz and Doug. And once again, she is Suz and I am Doug. And we're going to do a little bit more of our entertainment series tonight. We thought we'd do something on one of our favorite TV shows, The Saint. We'll do that next time. But I just found out, I know, Suz, you're kind of a Marilyn Monroe historian, but we just found out, or I just found out today, June 1st, as we record this, would have been her 98th birthday. So we thought we'd do a little kind of a reminiscence and tribute to Marilyn Monroe tonight.
Marilyn Monroe, and I hope this won't sound silly, but Miss Monroe, happy birthday to you.
98, born in 1926, June 1st, and kind of hard to believe she's been gone since what, 1962?
Wow.
Right?
Wow. I think that, wow, it's incredible. Yeah, and very young. Yeah, when she passed away.
36 years old when she. And still some story, we'll talk about that later too, but still a lot of controversy on how she died.
Yes, it's always been a mystery, and just a really sad one because really a great comedic talent, smart lady, and just very compassionate, definitely a humanitarian with young children, and as far as wildlife and animals, she was a great animal lover too.
Yeah, just before we get into kind of our remembrances of her work, how did you get interested in Marilyn Monroe? You said as a child, or how did you?
Yeah,
Obviously weren't really around when she was doing her movie, so how did you get interested?
exactly. Well, it's a great question. My interest in her really awakened when I was probably about 7 years old, maybe 6 or 7. We used to go on trips. I'm from southern New Jersey, Cherry Hill, originally. And my mom's oldest sister, my Aunt Betty, lived up in Corning, up in New York. We used to make road trips. I used to go with my parents up there to see my aunt and my uncle up there. And my aunt had quite a few books at her home. She enjoyed reading. One of them was a Marilyn Monroe picture book. It was a beautiful book. It was quite thick, probably 2.5, almost 3 inches thick. It had a lot of pictures. And I remember always when when I would arrive at her house, I would always go for that book. And I just was fascinated. All the pictures. I will say this, there were a few pictures probably of my mom. No, Sue, you should, because there were some pictures, but
Oh, a girl can look at
beautiful.
it.
Yeah, but beautiful pictures. She was a beautiful
Yeah.
lady and fascinating, really fascinating to
Now,
look
did
at.
you get a chance? Because obviously, when we were kids, they didn't have the VCRs yet
Yeah,
at that age, right?
yeah.
How did you get a chance to just on TV? Did you find Marilyn Monroe
Was
movies?
Yeah, there was my dad. He was a big movie buff, probably a little bit more so than my mom was, and we watched and see Some Like It Hot
Oh
was
yeah,
a movie my mom always really enjoyed too, because she was a big Jack Lemmon fan,
right.
and from The Odd Couple, and so I remember, and that movie made both of my parents just laugh. They both like
Yeah, one of
Tony.
the all-time great comedy movies. I think
Yeah,
rated top 10 of all time of
of all,
comedy movies. Yeah.
and they also really like The 7 Year Itch, also, and I really like that. Was so funny. That was just so well done, and she's always all of her movies. She's beautiful. She just
Back then, you had
her-
to catch movies on in New York. It was Channel 9 or Channel 11 or Channel 5, the independent
yeah,
stations. You probably had something similar in South
yeah,
Jersey. They always had commercials every 5 minutes. So it wasn't as easy
yeah.
to find movies like that back then that you wanted to
It
see.
was tough. Yeah, you would always say, and now a word from our sponsor, and then yeah, it was just car commercials, local CBS, or it was the days of UHF
Right?
channels too, and it would be like, oh no,
But
just
but those movies would be shown occasionally, so you could see some of the classics. And in the library, I guess, after a while, well, once the
yes,
VHS tapes came out, that opened up a lot of
that was
chances
so
to see movies like that at home when the home VCR came in.
So absolutely, and Doug, thank you so much. Such a wonderful point because, yeah, it was VH. The tapes really made it where you could enjoy a movie, but you didn't have all these interruptions because sometimes there was so many commercials in a row. By the time you're watching the movie, you're like,
You
you know
forgot the
what?
plot.
Absolutely. You're like,
Yeah.
oh no, what's happening here? So it was wonderful when you could just actually watch a movie. You had all these commercials and previews in the beginning with the tapes, but at least you could watch the movie. Yeah,
You remember the
absolutely.
first movie you saw? What was it? Something Like It Hot?
I would
I mean,
say
of Marilyn
I,
Monroe.
I think with Marilyn, I think it was Some Like It Hot. I think it was Some Like It Hot. And then I think the next one was The 7 Year Itch. And then,
Now, that's the one that got Joe DiMaggio all upset at her, right? During filming,
yes, yes,
who
when
she was
she
married to
was
at the time. She had that
absolutely,
scene where she's over the subway grate and the dress kind of flies up a little bit, and he didn't like that, right?
he got very, very angry. And of course, this was when they made the film. When she was standing over the grate, this was actually right. These were actual places in New York, and so there was many, many people watching, spectators, and of course you had the film crew, but there was just us regular citizens, watching that were fans of Miss Monroe and Joe, being, and he was
He
a
was
kind of
old school Italian. He didn't like have his wife. He didn't want her to work anyway. That was one of the biggest issues, right? Once they got married, didn't he want her to be a stay-at-home wife?
stay-at-home mom making pots of food, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think Marilyn was a lady that, you know,
Her ambition was to be in the movies, and
yeah,
Joe probably should have known that.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, the idea of that is nice, but he probably should have known that. But Joe didn't care. He wanted what he wanted.
He wanted, she's a beautiful lady, and she
Uh,
probably had such a great heart too. You can see that coming through even in her movies. She was a decent human being, and he probably fell in love with her for a lot of reasons, but it's just that, probably what he wanted and what she wanted were
we were
different.
just looking it up. I thought they were married longer. They were only married less than 2 years.
Wow.
54 to somewhere in 55. Could have been a year and a half, but she was
Yeah.
actually married before that. You knew a little bit about her first husband. Well, what did he do?
He was a man named James Daugherty.
Doherty, yeah.
Daugherty. I apologize, everyone. My pronunciation of last
Oh,
name
fine.
is the tongue twist. Daugherty. But anyway, he was. It seemed like a very another decent guy. He was in World War II, and Marilyn got married to him very young. I think she was 16 or
That's been
17.
only about 16, 17. Yeah, right.
Very, yeah, really young girl. And I think one of the reasons she married so young, she had been in foster care.
I would say
She,
we should talk about her childhood. It was not a good one.
it's very, it's very sad. Her relationship with her mom had some real mental problems, some issues. Her mom was committed to an asylum
Right.
too, and she never met her dad or knew her dad.
It,
So her whole life,
she never knew who he was, right? Never, no.
you know,
Parents were not married, so.
it's really sad. And I think she was a person that basically was very family
But
oriented.
always
And
kind of searching, apparently. That could have, she had a reputation of kind of, searching for the right guy, right? I mean, let's be honest.
exactly, exactly. And she, it is sad of her childhood. Now she might have had, I think she did live with her mom for a while, but the mom was pretty unstable, and so Marilyn did have to go to foster care.
Right.
She very unfortunately, I think, was abused Um, I don't know exactly when or how many times when she was in foster care, but when she was a young girl, I think she was sexually abused
Yeah, the
too.
stories about things that may have happened to her or did happen to her that and that kind of unfortunately damaged their
Really,
relationships for a long time. So it's sad.
it's really sad
And she
because
got into modeling early, right? Because there's some really old, I mean, pictures of her very young, 15, 16, 17, doing modeling work, right? The
yes, yes,
40s.
yes, she had a natural like a glow to her, and and it was very interesting. They said that when the photographer who discovered her, she was working in a ammunitions plant, or she was a World War II a worker, and with a uniform on, but she was a very pretty girl. Her husband was out to sea. I think he was in the Pacific. He was, of course, in World War II. And so she was by herself in Los Angeles working at a plant there. And there was a photographer there who was scouting women, kind of like young, pretty Rosie the Riveter
Hmm.
type ladies. He spotted Marilyn, zeroed in on her. She was just naturally
Yeah.
very pretty, charismatic.
Not much
They said,
makeup, if any, right?
yeah, yeah, just very, and she was a brunette, of course, at the time with curly hair when she was discovered, and just natural.
We
You know,
should
she
say her
was like,
real name was Norma Jean, was it Morrison?
it
Is that
was,
what it is?
yeah, I think, or I don't know if it was maybe Baker.
Baker, maybe. Yeah, Norma Jean was her
Maybe
real
Norma
name.
Yeah,
Marilyn Monroe was a name she got in
yeah,
Hollywood.
that pretty
Yeah.
na yeah, pretty and so what happened was this photographer discovered her, was taking pictures, and then she got a modeling contract from those pictures, and she was writing to her husband, James Doherty, when he was on the ship. He wanted her to be, like a wife,
Right.
uh, thing, and she just ran with this.
Yeah.
She loved
Hey,
the
she
attention.
got into movies. We were just kind of checking IMDb. I guess her first movie was 1947,
Yeah,
a bit part, and then 48, another
yeah, yeah,
small part, and then I guess she made a movie with the Marx Brothers. That's the first one
yes.
I saw with her in it. Love Happy.
Love
Uh,
Happy. Yeah, yeah,
they're one of the Marx Brothers' last movies, and then kind of took off. I guess around 1950, right?
yeah. In the 50s, she was kind of like an it girl. She just her career just took off. I know that
Kind of
Marilyn.
developed that look, right? And wasn't that her? I mean, did she develop that look? You think?
I think that is a
With the
fantastic.
blonde hair and the certain look, the white
I
kind of dress or whatever she always seemed to
the
wear.
way I think that real glamorous look that she had, I think that was something the executives at the studio where she was at, they were pushing that, and
Right.
I'm sure that was something. I think she wanted to be. I had this feeling. This is just my feeling, like a bit more natural and more appreciated for her talents, that she had her acting talents, and it was always this glamour girl image that I think, because she was very, she did that so well. She was very glamorous, but I think she had other ideas of what
She
she wanted.
uh, she was really wanted to train to be a proper proper training for an actress. She went to the Actors Studio in New York,
Yeah,
where the Broadway people kind of got together. I think Lee Strasberg is the guy that started this Actors Studio, which was kind of a very intense actors training. A lot of big names came out of that. And didn't she go to that quite a bit early on?
she did. She went to the actors. She got to the point in Hollywood where I think she was just getting very discouraged, and she wanted to
And a
be
bubblehead parts, let's be honest. I mean, that's what they're
yeah, yeah. She wanted to be like more, I think, like a Katharine Hepburn, Audrey Hepburn type actress. She wanted roles that were more Betty Davis type actress. She wanted to be more versatile,
right.
and to be able to do more of a range, I think, with her acting, but for some reason she was just in
She
that one.
almost got typecast from day one in
Yeah,
that Marilyn Monroe image that we kind of remember her by, which is really
yeah,
unfair in a sense, right? I mean, she was a pretty good actress. There were some movies she got to do
yeah,
sort of dramatic parts, right? Bus
yeah,
Stop, I think, was one of them. Well, you mentioned one
yeah,
before,
yeah,
Asphalt Jungle, right?
yeah. I thought she was really good in that. She played the girlfriend of an older man who was married, kind of a sleazy businessman, and she did that really well. It was
Yeah.
definitely not a comedy, that movie, and I thought she did it really well. I thought she could act pretty good. That was one of her early
What was the one
movies.
we saw? We didn't see the original. We saw the kind of the remake of the story, The Princess and the Showgirl.
Yeah,
Prince and the
yeah,
Showgirl. Wasn't that the one about Laurence Olivier and Marilyn Monroe, the movie they made together, and it was a movie
yeah.
made about it. We saw that, right? That was the one that she went to
Good.
London to do that, right?
That way, exactly. And she had just married Arthur Miller, and I think
Famous
she was
playwright. I don't
the
know. Yeah.
playwright. Yeah, and she was, I think, really thrilled when she married him because, see, she had
Kind of
always
an
wanted.
odd match, though. Like you wouldn't
It
have.
was.
I mean, looking back on it now, it seems kind of odd, doesn't it?
I couldn't believe, I remember like first, because I remember my dad saying, because, when the Mr. Coffee commercials would be
Right.
on TV,
Go to
dad
Benjamin,
would
Mr.
say,
Coffee.
oh, he was married to Marilyn Monroe. And I went, really? As a little girl. And then, because I was like, really? And then my dad mentioned Arthur Miller. And I said, well, I thought he was, and he said, no, he was a writer. And
Yeah, famous playwright. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and immediately you get this image of a serious guy. And my dad said, yeah, he wasn't an actor, so he was a serious guy. He was a writer. He wrote plays, and
I think Death of a Salesman. I think that was his, wasn't it? I think.
Death of
Yeah.
a Salesman. Yeah, he wrote some fame and
Crucible, I think. Yeah, several huge dramatic plays, but
big.
not a lot of laughs in any of them.
No, they would be. And I'll be honest, I never read Death of a. It
I
sounded.
never read the whole thing. I've heard a little bit about it. It's sad. It's about a salesman that Willie Loman that pretty much his life is a mess.
Uh, it makes you sad. Yeah, that makes me so.
Not something you want to spend money going to the theater to see, but it was,
No,
like
and the title sounds really sad
death.
too.
Yeah, who wants to go see a play with death in the title?
No, and he wrote this
That's
up.
what made it kind of odd that,
Yeah,
he might have been a nice guy, who knows, but what the attraction was at the
what
time.
the attraction was, and my only guess is that Marilyn had this
Yeah,
desire, this great
protect
desire,
father figure kind, maybe.
yet to be taken seriously. And apparently, what happened was when he first met Marilyn, they were dancing. He was married at the time
Oh,
when
was
they
he?
met, and they were dancing, and he was telling her that she should be up on the stage as an actress, and that's exactly what she wanted to hear.
Right.
He
Yeah.
said exactly what she wanted.
I don't think she ever did a play, did she? I
She
don't
wanted
remember. I don't remember ever hearing that she did a legitimate stage, Broadway, or a play.
to
Yeah.
play. And you know what? I think what it was is I think it was her anxiety and her nerves made she probably could never, and I know you agree, but I don't think because she wouldn't be able to remember.
Yeah, she was very insecure. I think didn't she have a acting coach with her at all times on the
Yeah,
movie sets, and
they had to be
a lot of
holding her.
times it was difficult to get her out of the dressing room on the set. She wasn't comfortable. Yeah.
She wasn't comfortable, and they said when she was filming The Prince and the Showgirl with Laurence Olivier, she drove him.
Yeah, drove. That was what the whole movie was about. Drove him nuts. Yeah.
He said she was
Yeah,
always
very low self-confidence, you would say she had. Yeah.
Yeah, he said that's what I think when he said that the girl had, I think he called her the girl, and he said she had no confidence.
Yeah.
She had no, and he said in acting,
But she was really put into the movies originally because of her looks.
yeah,
So she didn't have a chance to develop as an actress, and she wanted to, but she
yeah,
didn't really have a chance to do that. That's why I think she went to that actor's studio to do
to,
that, but
to
she
do
could never
that.
really get out of that Well, we mentioned a couple of examples where she did, but not
Yeah.
really. I don't think many she would have wanted, right?
Yeah, and it's so sad because, she just wanted to be given that chance to do something, like she was looking at actresses like Betty Davis, who was doing
Right.
Queen Elizabeth, and and but she just didn't have she. I think it's just sometimes certain that they don't have that. She didn't have that range to do that.
Never really given a chance, and probably never would have. Now, we talked, you and I, over the years.
Yeah,
If she had lived, she obviously couldn't have been that glamorous star into her 40s and 50s. She would have still probably looked nice, but she would
yes,
have had to become a character actress. I wonder if she would have been able to do that.
and
We'll
see
never
that.
know.
And she
What
was
would have
so
happened if she lived another 30, 40 years?
yeah, what exactly, it is, yeah, and she seemed very, they were, from what I read, she was very unstable, and,
I think she did have some of the mother's mental issues, probably inherited some of that. That's possible. Yeah, probably probable, I would say. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
it's really it's sad, and, maybe it was a case of too much too quickly. Her fame was really
Almost
intense.
overnight. I mean, for back then, that was pretty quick. Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
she really,
It
and
wasn't
she really
television yet, really,
yeah,
but the
and
movies
it was
were the thing then. Yeah, right.
and the other unfortunate thing, they said a lot of the directors really took advantage of her
Yeah, a lot
too.
of the whole Hollywood system, I mean, full of sleazebags anyway. But
Yeah,
unfortunately, some of them took advantage. Yeah.
it was a thing, and I just remember reading something Joan Collins had said a long time ago, and always struck me as a
I
lady
think
that
she knew Marilyn a little bit, didn't she, when she first
she
started? Joan, in
said,
her early career. Yeah.
beautiful lady, beautiful girl, no confidence.
Yeah.
She said the same thing. They could
But
tell, and
Joan took care of herself. She realized right away, I'm not going to let that happen to me. Yeah.
yeah, she said that it was so funny. She said in England she had been around those kind of sleazy kind
Yeah.
of, and she always struck me. My dad always said that lady that could take care of herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was pretty. Uh, she looked like her. She was pretty level head. Yeah, she could
I believe she
handle.
just turned 90, I think, not too long ago. She looked pretty good.
She looked. She was really
Yeah.
on Dynasty. She
Yeah.
looked good act. Another great actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joan
Yeah.
Collins.
Getting into the 60s, then it was kind of the beginning of the end for her, Marilyn Monroe. She made I guess the final movie was what, The Misfits, right? With Clark Gable?
It was really, and it's really, and the thing about that was, I often saw the connect, the title of the movie, The Misfits, and
Yeah,
she
kind
was
of apropos.
she was kind of going down this downward spiral. At that her marriage was crumbling, I think, to Arthur Miller, and he had met his future wife, his new wife, on the set.
Oh, really?
Misfits. It
Oh,
was a lady, I don't know if she was a costumer on the movie, but she wasn't an actress, and
oh,
they had had a long marriage. Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
But yeah, it's really, but I just remember seeing this one interview in later years, I think from the 1990s, with Arthur Miller, and he said that she was a very troubled girl, but he couldn't help her. He couldn't save her. I think she wanted him to, and he couldn't. He could only do so much. I think he
Right.
was like trying. He knew her, anxieties, and he was trying to help her, but maybe
They were
that
married,
worked.
I guess, about, what, 4 or 5 years, I think. If
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I think that's the length
yeah,
of that.
in a
But then,
period.
yeah, then she got involved with the Kennedys. That's a whole
That's
book
sad.
right there. But who knows exactly what happened there? But apparently, John F. Kennedy and her got together, and Robert F. Kennedy, and then that whole thing where she died in Las Vegas, or was it Las Vegas, or was it?
Gosh,
It was
was
in
it?
Lake Tahoe,
Yeah,
I think, wasn't it?
I think
Found the body, wherever it was. Little
it's
mystery of what happened there, but
it's a
sad.
it's
Drug
real.
overdose is what the story was, but seems like there was other things going on.
Yeah, it's.
But
I
she may
know
have
that.
known a lot what's going on with the, Kennedys and all that stuff, and she was going to blab, and who knows
Uh,
if she was taken
it,
out or what happened.
it's really sad because, and I know with Joe DiMaggio, he had really towards the end he was
He didn't want
really,
anything to do with the Kennedys after. I mean, he kind of knew what was going on, and he was the only one, I believe, that wouldn't let them go to the funeral,
yeah,
right?
yeah, he was really
I mean, he
took,
controlled her funeral. Said,
yeah,
certain people aren't coming. Yeah.
he said, and he took, he took, I think he paid for her funeral.
Right.
He
Paid for
flowers
flowers, what, once a week, whatever it was, once a month, to
for
be
her grave.
delivered to her grave, right?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and
You
it's
had
just
told me that you had read that they were going to get back together, right? They were talking about it.
I think there was something they were seeing each other again. They were going to the beach together. I think they went to baseball games
Right.
uh, together. I think he's the one that truly loved her. I
I
have
think
this
so. Yeah.
DiMaggio. I know that they had some, but I think he really was attracted to her, and yeah,
Would have been
and
interesting, right? If she had lived and they got married, I would think that probably would have lasted.
yeah, I think that it's a shame that some maybe they were too young or something when they
Right.
married the first time, maybe, and then they were a bit older when they got, maybe that would have worked out
Yeah.
the second time.
Well,
Yeah.
a lot of what ifs with Marilyn Monroe. I mean, she did leave a good legacy of movies
Yes.
and
She.
everything, but yeah, sad story on top of it, right? I mean,
Yeah. So
people
young.
still fascinated by her. You are. I mean, I am to some
Yeah.
extent, but you really
I
are. I mean, it's
actually
sad, but it's
everyone.
interesting.
I had, I still do. I had about 3 or 4 shirts with Marilyn
You're
Monroe on
right.
it. I used to enjoy it. Yeah, it was just, and she's just so pretty, just so pretty. And I think there was so much more. Personally, my thoughts have always been there's so much more to her than people. She had a good brain. I
You
think she
said
had good.
high IQ, read a lot, right?
She loved books. She loved, there was one, Ulysses. I'm not sure who, I can't
Oh,
remember his,
right. Yeah, right.
that was one of her favorite. And
Judith
I,
reading on IMDb, she carried a book about Abraham Lincoln, a biography a lot. She liked
yeah,
reading about him. Yeah.
yeah, she really, she enjoyed art. Her and Arthur Miller used to go to the Metropolitan Opera together. So she really liked, upper, high. Yeah, she liked high art. She liked, yeah, she wanted to grow. She wanted to grow as a person and learn and be taken seriously.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that
I
was the
admire,
thing. She was never taken seriously, pretty much as an actress. I think that's the
yeah, that
second
really,
sad part, obviously, with the other issues too. But and also Frank Sinatra, we didn't mention him. At one time, I think they were going to.
yeah.
I don't know. Did he ask her to marry him? They
You
were
know that
going. They were,
they were really good friends. I know that he like
and he treated her
uh
with respect. It wasn't like one
the
of
oyster,
Frank's,
yes. Yeah,
conquests. Let's be honest. He felt bad for her, and he wanted to be a protector, right? I
be
mean,
protector,
but I
yeah.
thought at one time he may have asked her to marry, maybe not, but they were together for.
They were, yeah, it was and I think he treated her well
Treated her, yeah,
when they
respectfully.
were together, and yeah, she just seemed like and there's so many pictures of her with her cats, dogs,
Right,
she loved animals. She loved children. She really wanted to be a mom.
right.
She
Yeah,
did have
we
a
never
few
got to do that. Yeah.
miscarriages, yeah, with Arthur Miller, and that was really unfortunate.
Did she have a
Yeah.
couple of miscarriages? She did, right? Yeah, I thought I read
That
that.
really, yeah, that really wasn't good for her either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And but she could not carry a child, so don't know. I don't know if it was a medical
Yeah.
uh,
Kind
sad.
of in a similar sense, a career similar to Judy Garland, right? I mean,
Yeah, another,
not as much as the drugs. We don't know if Marilyn Monroe had any trouble with that, but just kind
yeah,
of great
yeah.
legacy of entertainment, but what could have been.
Absolutely. It's just
Both
and
died way too young. Yeah.
way too young, and Miss Garland,
We'll do a thing on Judy Garland one day because
that
we're
would
both
be
fans of
fantastic.
her.
Such a, yeah, another, yeah, she was an immense, my dad her voice and
Yeah,
great
we'll do a
stuff.
separate one on that.
Yeah.
But we
Well,
always want to remember Marilyn Monroe today, June
yeah.
1st, born
Yes.
1926. So
Yeah.
God bless her. We hope
God,
she's up in heaven and enjoying life up there.
absolutely. We love you, Marilyn.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you
Thank
for providing some great memories. And of course, you still kind of follow her a little bit, right? You
you.
still study her.
A-
So it's good.
Absolutely. And it's yeah, and she's really and where I work, the residents enjoy her too.
So
Yeah.
you work at a like a senior
Senior.
citizen place,
Yeah.
and they like
Yeah.
her work too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
She's yeah, they went their faces light up with Miss Monroe. Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
that'll wrap up this edition of On the Town. So we'll see you again next time, and join us then.
Join us then.
Thanks. Oh, we'll give a thumbs up to Marilyn,
Thumbs up.
right? See you later, everybody. Thanks for watching.